Hey everyone, Fire here, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make money on the current patch. The first strategy up on our list is altar farming. Now this is something that should be familiar to absolutely everyone watching the channel, but for those who need a refresher, it basically involves just farming the Eldritch altars for currency. It has, however, changed quite drastically this league, because there are new mods in the pool, rare mobs make it even harder, we have new keystones which can be stacked, which both make it much harder, and then on top of all that, Sentinel makes it even harder. As such, you could probably expect to die multiple times per map. Sometimes the map finishes because you run out of mobs to kill, other times the map finishes because you run out of portals to re-enter the map. To pull this off, you just need to have the Atlas tree that I'm going to recommend. You can find it in the description below, along with a spreadsheet containing instructions and Atlas trees for all the strategies we're going to be discussing today. But basically, you go into the map, you run straight to the boss, you're going to kill the boss, that is going to remove all of the boss-only modifiers from the Eldritch Altar pool, then you're going to go around and clear the rest of the map. You're going to also be popping your Sentinels as fast as possible. You want to get your Sentinels out of the way before you pop all the Eldritch Altar modifiers, because then you're going to be debuffed. It's going to be very hard fighting empowered mobs while you're debuffed with the Eldritch Altars. It's just going to be virtually impossible unless you have a really cracked character, and I took a character with about 2 to 3 mirrors worth of gear in here on standard and tested this exact strat out, and turns out it's actually quite hard even for a 2 to 3 mirror character, so just do it that way. If you're really confident and you're really convinced you have a great build, fine, you can use the Sentinels on the Eldritch mobs later on in the map if you really want, but I would recommend killing the boss first, popping your Sentinels, and then doing altars last, pretty much. So for those of you who aren't aware, this is how me and Grimro have been farming all of our money. We've teamed up, and we are doing these maps solo, but we're sharing our currency and we're sharing our strats. And I think that if you can do this strat, you should. It's an absolute mistake not to do it while it's still hot. The prices of scarabs and eldritch currencies are probably going to go down over the next few weeks as more people start to do it, but you need to get in as fast as you can because it's really great. So there are a few variations of this strategy that really depend on your build. Now Grimro's playing a Corrupting Fever Gladiator. This means that he's able to clear these maps really fast, and this means that he needs to just get in and get out. He needs to go kill the boss, do all the altars and all the Sentinel stuff, and leave the map straight away. On the other hand, I'm playing a Trapper. Now I am limited by the ability for my traps to actually deal damage to mobs. They have a delay. I'm not the fastest build, unfortunately, and so we sort of worked out that I needed to do things such as including Expedition on my Atlas tree, using Stream of Consciousness and all of the blocking tools. I can spawn an Expedition 1 in 3 times, and then the Expedition that spawns is juiced up with all of the Atlas passives. This means that even though I'm not able to clear as many of these maps per hour as possible, I'm getting much more loot per map than Grimro, and so it's allowing me to keep close to the amount of profit per hour that he's making with his version of the strat, even though he's playing a much faster build. The best thing about this strategy is that it's literally plug and play with no investment. All you need is 4 Void Stones, the Atlas tree we're going to recommend, and 10 favorite slots at least, and you're good to go. You can just keep doing whatever variant of this strategy that you want, and you will literally never run out of the ability to keep doing this. You can do this to the end of time, or at least the end of the patch. There's no scarabs involved, no Zana mods, nothing. This strategy just takes care of itself, and I think that's really great, because when you die 6 times in a map and you run out of portals, you don't have to feel bad about having wasted a scarab or anything like that. You just put the next map in and keep going. The next strategy we're going to be talking about is Sentinel Spamming. Now, a lot of my friends are in the position where they aren't able to actually do tier 16 maps yet because they haven't been able to earn the money to upgrade their builds sufficiently enough to handle the power of the rare mobs and all of that sort of stuff. And this is a strategy for you if you're someone who's really struggling to really get up there and find a way to do the content. Okay, so what Sentinel Spamming involves is taking a bunch of low-tier maps, popping them in, going in, and then popping your Sentinels as fast as possible, getting the Sentinel rewards, and then leaving the map. This is a variation of the Ultimatum strategy of just farming Ultimatum in white maps, and then leaving the map and starting over. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind about doing this. The Sentinel rewards are kind of based on the map tier. Obviously, you get much better rewards if you're doing tier 16 maps versus white maps. So, you have to keep that in mind. If you're capable of doing low tier reds, you should be doing low tier reds. The only things you really need to know about this strategy are the types of rewards on the Sentinels that are worth actually running. So you don't just want to be putting any Sentinel in and popping it. You want to be using a specific tree, and you also want to be looking for certain reward types. I'm going to include all that in the spreadsheet in the description of this video, so you can just follow that. But it's mainly stuff like Legion, Breach, Currency, Expedition, Heist, etc. You're going to be using these Sentinels, and you're also going to be running a Sentinel tree that tries to maximize the amount of Sentinels you're going to be dropping while you're doing this content, so that you can infinitely sustain the Sentinels that you're running. If you're running lower tier maps that you don't need to sustain, you can just put the map in, run the Sentinel, and then leave the map straight away. On the other hand, if you're doing low tier reds and you really need to sustain that tier in order to sustain this strategy, then you should probably clear the map right up to the boss and do every mechanic in the map so that you can help sustain it. I would only recommend doing this strategy if you're still trying to afford things for your build, because this is not at all the highest profit per hour strategy you can be doing. This is just a casual friendly way in order to get the gear and the money to sort of progress further. The whole reason this strat works as well as it does is because, unlike a lot of other League mechanics, this League mechanic feeds into its own gameplay loop. If you think about delving does not grant you soul fight. Deli orbs aren't earned from deli maps. Pretty much any League mechanic you can think of, you can't sustain it from doing it. But this is an exception. Sentinel gives you Sentinel rewards, which in turn gives you Sentinels to run for more Sentinel rewards, so on and so forth. So the more you invest into this strat, the more access you have to this strat, which means you can just pretty much keep it up infinitely and make a ton of money from it. This is kind of like doing ultimatums in white maps, which was a thing a few patches ago, but this is even better. It's more rewarding, it feeds into itself a lot better, and if you're unable to access any of the other strats in this video, then this is the one for you, I think. The Sentinel tree here is really straightforward. You're going to be taking pretty much obvious stuff. You're going to be taking some quality of life stuff for your Sentinels, but I think the main things to talk about is this one, basically. So all of the normal rarity Sentinels are upgraded to magic rarity. This just vastly increases the amount of good Sentinels you're actually going to be dropping. This is mandatory in any tree, I think. The other one to talk about is the increased number of enemies empowered by Stalker Sentinels. Now, Stalker Sentinels will always pretty much hit the cap unless you die, because they follow you along. They're not like the blue that shoots it out in one go. So you really need stuff like this. Quality of life stuff like the additional beam is useful. You can even take the chain beam if you absolutely have to. There are a lot of builds that I've seen that need to take this, so don't feel bad about taking this or anything like that. Don't let your ego get the better of you where you think like you can only take the stuff that massively increases your rewards or anything like this. If you need it, you need it. We're going to come down here, we're going to get the increased number of enemies empowered by Pandemonium Sentinels as well. We're going to get Pandemonium Sentinels spawn packs of monsters. Since we're redeploying them, we're getting two Pandemonium Sentinels. That's two extra packs of empowered mobs. We're going to be getting the redeployment point. So what this does is it allows you to pop your blue one twice in a map. This is really good. The Pandemonium is probably a lot better than the red, and being able to use it twice just vastly increases the amount of rewards you're getting per map. This is just, it's crazy that this is even in there. I don't know, like, this is, I think, the strongest point in the entire tree, so you absolutely have to have it. Now, the minor ones that I would really pay attention to are these ones down here. Rewards are 15% more likely to be Sentinel rewards. And then on top of that, you get a major one that gives 30% more likely. So this adds up to being 60% more likely to be Sentinel rewards. Sentinel rewards are great because you're getting power cores. Now, the basic power core is worth 1C each at the time of making this video, and the upgraded versions of the power cores are anywhere between like 5 to 7C each in bulk. You also get recombinators, which are between 8 to 12C. You also get other Sentinels, and the more Sentinels you earn, the more you're able to get even better Sentinels, which have crazy mods, which fit into this whole loop that I was talking about. So this is like absolutely mandatory. Now this, I'm not too sure about this. So rewards are more likely to be less common types. The problem I have with this is that aside from requiring a bit of investment, you gotta put in 2 filaments to access it. It makes the currency rewards less likely. Currency rewards are one of the most likely types, tied with weapons, armor, and jewelry. And while you may be getting less of the weapons, jewelry, and armor ones, you're gonna also be getting less currency. And a lot of the rare ones, such as Blight, they're not that good. So you're going to be getting less of the good ones and more of the bad ones in some cases. I have to do a lot of testing for this. Me and Grim are both going to be sitting down and testing this over the next few weeks, and we'll have answers as to whether this is actually good. Anecdotally, this feels okay. I can't sit here and tell you definitely this is absolutely mandatory, but if there are 2 points to be cutting off this that you maybe you don't have all the power units unlocked, or maybe you want to access stuff like this or some of the other stuff on the tree, these are the 2 filaments I would cut and move elsewhere. The final strategy we're going to talk about is quantity abusing the expedition encounters in maps. Now, the way this simply works is that you're either going to be using a stream of consciousness out and go approach where you naturally spawn the expedition 1 in 3 maps, or alternatively, you're just going to use scarabs. You're going to optionally use things such as Fortune Favors the Bold in order to add an extra 10% pack size into your map. You're going to potentially be using the Grand Design Keystone in order to further add more pack size into your map. Now, as you can see on the map on your screen, I have 54% increased pack pack size. And to top that all off, we're going to be using the Sentinels that add over 100% quantity when you pop them. Expedition is an interesting case. Expedition is one of the only League mechanics that directly scales off of the quantity of the mobs. More quant equals more logbooks. So you basically set yourself up to have a ton of runic monsters compared to a normal expedition encounter, and then they're all getting several remnants worth of free logbook quant. You're able to often get 5 to 6 logbooks in a single encounter. Now granted, that is the top end. There are going to be some of these encounters that you do where you don't get a single logbook in return, but it's quite common to get multiple logbooks from a single encounter, and overall you're going to be making an absolute absurd amount of money. Logbooks are already up to 60C plus for the good factions at the time of making this video, and they're probably going to keep rising. You can often expect to walk away from a really good expedition encounter with over 3x worth of loot, which is kind of insane compared to how expedition farming used to be in the past. If you're kind of concerned about the price of these scarabs being 8 to 10C, this is why. You could push this mechanic to absolutely insane heights now that really justify the 8 to 10C that you're going to be spending on a scarab. In fact, you could probably afford to spend a lot more and you're still going to make an absurd amount of money. As you can see in the expedition I'm doing on the screen currently, I've already made two logbooks off this, and if I recall correctly, one was a scythe and one was a sun, so I think it's just under 2x worth of loot just from this expedition encounter alone. The main downside to this strategy is just its difficulty. Now, as you can see on the screen here, I'm not able to actually clear this expedition encounter all that fast, and most of the people that I've spoken to who are doing this strat and trying to farm their own mage blood doing this, they're not having that good of a time either in terms of speed, but that's perfectly okay in my opinion. You're making so much money from this that it kind of justifies doing these maps a little more slowly, just as long as it's not too slow, and just as long as there's not a serious risk of getting 6 portaled every single map. If your build can handle it, fine, do it. If your build can't handle it, make your peace with it and move on to one of the other strategies in this video, because this is by far the hardest and there's no point just wasting money doing this strategy when there are better things you could be doing instead. Sorry for the lack of content over the last few days. I've just been having an absolute ton of fun playing with Grumro, and we've been making a ton of money together, so it was really hard to justify stopping and pulling myself out of the zone in order to make videos. As of now, we're going to be back to the daily upload schedule of 1 video a day. I have a ton of content planned over the next few weeks. The next video I have planned is a guide on how to liquidate your entire stash as fast as possible. I know this is something a lot of people always have problems with, and I'm pretty good at doing it in my opinion. I have a system that is very well optimized, and so I think it's time I finally share that system with the masses and show you all how to liquidate as efficiently as I do. As always, if you like this video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll have more great content coming out very shortly, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow.